Charles, we got King Communist tonight. How you doing in your exotic international location?
Well, I'm doing well. Thanks for letting me join from here. I'm happy to tell people I'm in Phuket, Thailand. They pronounce it here Phuket, actually. And I'm not going to say where I am exactly because it's a very nice part that is not all strip clubs and discos and mania. It's a beautiful crescent beach, a lot of nice restaurants, more families than other types of tourists. And it's a short flight from Penang. It's about 45 minutes in the air.
Amazing. It's only 40 minutes if you want to go to the strip clubs.
No, it's longer to go to the strip. This is out near the airport. And to get into, the more vibrant, I should say, parts of Phuket, it's about an hour to an hour and a half cab ride. But this is very short from the airport.
You're an international man of mystery, Charles. Everybody, I think, envies your. It's no longer the hut life; it's the Phuket life.
Yeah, it's very nice, I have to say. People in this region of the world, it's the polar opposite of New York City. People, and that's not where I am. What you're showing, that's Phuket Old Town, but the people out here in general are very happy to interact with well-behaved tourists. They don't like, the backpacking, weed-smoking maniacs, of which there are in the old town and elsewhere. You run into those types of people. But if you're respectful and say please and thank you, and we're not rowdy, you're very well looked after here.
That's good to know, Charles. Now, I don't know if you are keeping up on all the latest news here in New York, but obviously, you and I have been speaking for several days about the King Communist, our buddy, soon to be, perhaps, hopefully not, mayor. What's his name here?
Zohran.
Yeah.
Mamdani. No, I mean, the kind of statements this guy is making are the kind of threats, basically, that a thug bully would make. The beatings will stop when morale improves. That's basically what he's saying. We're going to destroy the capitalist system in arguably the global center for finance unless he gets in. But New York City has been effectively the global capital of capitalism. And this idiot wants to kill the goose that laid the golden egg. Why? Because somebody like him with no experience, this guy has no managerial experience other than perhaps participating in riots around the world. He thinks he's going to go in and start tearing World Financial Center down I think he said he wants to tear it down and turn it into affordable housing. What is he talking about? It's absurd. And it's even more absurd that people actually voted for him. I question just how many people actually voted for this idiot.
Yeah.
And so it's not a laughing matter. At this point, I know you have some news, I think, about somebody who's doing good research on this background. It may be that he is not actually who he says he is, in which case maybe he gets bounced from the ballot. But New York City cannot make the mistake that San Francisco made. I mean, San Francisco is an unlivable hellhole. It used to be a delight to go out there. And it's never coming back. San Francisco at no point had anywhere as deep a industrial background. It certainly didn't have, it had a stock exchange, but nothing like the New York Stock Exchange. And so when the businesses left, and now as the rich people realize, that the mayor and the governor of California are functionally illiterate criminals, basically, stealing money from the public trough, there's no road back for San Francisco. And I would hate to see that happen in New York City because, on the one hand, I saw an excellent article that says cops, and we can question the efficacy of the police force now, but the remaining cops are looking at this thug and say, I don't want to be a policeman in New York City. I'll go somewhere else. So you're left, I think, with very low-rated police force. At the same time, this animal is going around saying we need race riots. We need to shift the burden of governance onto the rich. What does he think is actually going on with the present tax system? an overwhelming, probably a majority of New York City residents don't pay any taxes at all because the system is so progressive, and they get these credits and other things, and food stamps and other benefits. So, I mean, this guy is completely misreading, charitably misreading what the city needs. And that's before we get into, is he a Chinese spy? Is he an Iranian spy? Is he some other kind of spy? And who's he working with on this project? Because I see the hand of Barack Obama all over this. And, this is not something that is mainstream thinking, even in left-leaning New York City. This is a prescription for riots, violence, crime, and bankruptcy. And nobody votes for that. No sensible person votes for that. That's before you get into his views on the Middle East and what might happen to the very large slice of New York City that are people who support Israel and or are Jewish. I mean, this man is already, he's not even in office. He hasn't even won the general election, and he's fanning the flames of insurrection.
Yeah, it's bad news. The guy I was talking about was 0 Hour, and he had found a lot of information about Zohran Mamdani being in Egypt in 2013. He was saying he had more evidence that Mamdani was a citizen of Egypt than the New York Times did, that he was a citizen of the United States. And then also somebody else had pointed out, and I don't think that this is a disqualifying crime in New York City, amazingly, but that Mamdani, when he ran for city council, he did that before he was a citizen. Now, I don't know, do you need to be, or maybe he lied about his citizenship? I'm not sure. I want to make sure we don't say things incorrectly, but there's a lot of problems here with Zohran Mamdani. I've always felt like this whole notion of like, oh, we're going to, make New York City affordable housing. It's just as stupid as putting migrants into expensive hotels in the middle of New York City when, as I drive around the country, we've got, even in New Jersey, there's going to be less populated areas, 45 an hour and a half away from here, where there's just less demand, more land, less expensive. Why not put people there? It doesn't make sense to take premium expensive real estate and fill it up and make it accessible to people who don't have money to pay for it. I mean, it's exactly, and this might sound simplified, Charles, and I've said this to you offline, but, in the 80s, somebody stupid at the Cadillac company got the idea that if they made a low-cost Cadillac, that would appeal to anybody. And what it did was it brought down the clout of the Cadillac brand by delivering a low-quality car with a Cadillac label on it. So it just made people who normally might want to buy a more upmarket product less attracted to the brand because it was having a lower value perception. The point of having a premium product is making it premium so that people want it and people aspire to it and it becomes more valuable. And the analogy with New York City is that if the city is more valuable for businesses to be here, property taxes, real estate taxes, corporate taxes, people getting hired by these companies, all of that goes up. If you bring down the value of New York City such that it can be filled with low-income housing, you just have a dense, congested, low-income, cheap mess.
Well, and to add on that a little bit, a very large problem that the city has, particularly Manhattan, is that a lot of the land in New York City, in the expensive parts of New York City, is owned by nonprofits, Columbia University, NYU, other churches and schools and synagogues, stuff like that. So you have, on the one hand, a diminished ability to collect taxes, while at the same time, under successive mayors, including Bloomberg, you've increased the size and the pay of public sector workers, their contractors, and retirees way beyond a level that makes any sense. And in the private sector, the tsunami that Musk and others see of AI replacing high-paid private sector workers is going to definitely come to New York City in the private sector already. And actually, for years, I think banks have been moving out. A lot of, for example, JP Morgan's back office processing is done, I think, in Texas and Dayton, Ohio, or Columbus, Ohio. So the public sector under Zohran and his clan of ass clowns, the idea is we're just going to bloat that, raise everybody's pay the way Obama did when he was president in the public sector and Biden in the public sector. We're going to say to the criminal element that went across our borders and is hostile to many of the things most of the things that Trump wants to do, come on into blue city and state sanctuary place, New York City, and this creep will protect you. Even if you get arrested, you'll be immediately out on the streets again. So come on down, you worst of the worst, come to Manhattan and New York City. And I think this is not something that responsible parents can look at and say, all right, yeah, I'm going to let this happen to my 7th grade and 5th grade kids, and we're at present, we've decided, we had decided we're going to have them stay in New York and maybe go to private schools. But with this, you have to course correct. You cannot, as a responsible parent, say that it's a good idea to keep particularly white people rich white people inside the city with this clown coming in. He's already said what he's going to do. He's basically putting a bounty on your head. And what responsible person would do? This is not an American way of thinking, right? You're supposed to be a melting pot. You come to this country and you celebrate its history and create its future. This guy is basically coming out of wherever he's from, Egypt, Syria, I don't know, and saying, no. That's not the way it's going to work.
Wants to overthrow.
I'm the guy who decides, as Obama famously said in 2008, in the run-up to the election, I'm the person who stands between you and the people with pitchforks. That's what Obama was famously quoted as saying. That's what this guy thinks he can do. It's easy. We see the rent-a-mobs. They're everywhere. Yeah. It doesn't matter the occasion. It's the same people with different signs and megaphones. So we know those are out there. We know the city is hot in terms of temperature. We know this is a good summer to try to disrupt the momentum of Trump and what he's trying to accomplish. And this man is the instrument of that disruption. I hope the Trump administration is taking this very seriously indeed. And, I know they have, I think it is, maybe it's already happened already, or it's due to happen in Washington, D.C. There was some big thing that people were preparing for, and the big unscalable fences went up around the White House and the Treasury Department. There was some, I think, maybe it's Sunday your time, rally. And then on the 4th, of course, is it the 4th or the 5th, the No Kings rally?
I think the 4th, but there was supposed to be something today that Laura had, I saw she had some flyer that she had put up. So Laura has an associate, maybe you've seen him, Charles Downs. He's in Washington, D.C. I've run into him in D.C. He's usually covering this stuff. So he caught the left busing in Trump protesters. Laura had like I said, she had the card where they were saying, go to such and such an address in New York at 7:00 in the morning and the bus is going to leave promptly. So here's Charles with the fences that he's showing all around. They're obviously getting ready for something. Yeah, here, right. Look. It says historic struggle in Washington, D.C., the front line, telling people Boston, New York, where to go to get on the bus. I mean, it's like, this is pretty crazy.
Yeah, and you think about, you got Hillary Clinton. I had the displeasure of going through some of her trash that she wrote. And this guy, Terry McAuliffe, is a bold fundraising criminal. Some of the stuff he says, that crew, Bush was selected, not elected, but you have to respect the will of the voters when Joe Biden is elected. It's just, they take both sides, opposite sides of the same coin. When their guy wins a contested election, you better not protest it. But when they lose narrowly a contested election, that result is illegitimate in their mind. I mean, this is the kind of thinking that I would argue separates sane people from insane people. That's an insane way of living your life, right? You're the only person who could be right, no matter what. That's what these people believe. And it would be one thing if we're sitting here with, a guy like Musk, who has proven outside of politics that he can revolutionize for the better all kinds of different industries not simply in the United States of America, but globally. What has Bill Clinton revolutionized other than the definition of the meaning of the word is and lying? I mean, he hasn't revolutionized anything outside politics, nor is Hillary, nor is Obama, nor is this moron. These are very dangerous people.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what's going to happen. Obviously, you know, this win was in a primary, so it's something like less than 5% of New York that actually voted for him. I mean, the big problem is we've got Andrew Cuomo, we've got Eric Adams, we've got Curtis Sliwa, and a lot of people feel like, you know, none of them are particularly strong candidates. And, you know, it's always difficult to predict when we have all this stuff going on. Andrew Cuomo obviously staying in there. I don't know, Charles. It's really sad that we can't have somebody better running for mayor. I don't think that I would really realistically have a chance without somebody with billions of dollars getting behind me in advertising like any product. But I'm feeling badly that I didn't enter this mayoral race because there really are not a lot of very good candidates to choose from here.
No, it's you look at the city, and again, the first question is it fixable, absent radical restructuring? And I don't think it is. I don't think you could tinker around at the edges. You can't have a place that is not hiring people out of law school and graduate school, the highly paid people who thought they were going to go in and make a lot of money on Wall Street and in corporate law. Those people are not coming in the same numbers they used to come in because of AI and other technological developments, and because there are other better places to work from at this point. So your pool of revenue without deficit spending is shrinking, and Zohran and AOC and Joe Biden and Jasmine Crockett without a brain in her pocket. I mean, they all are running around with these crazy ideas that are $1 trillion of incremental spending. And there are other cities in the world than New York City. For example, Singapore. Singapore is a great, if you don't know when last time you've been there, but the infrastructure is fantastic. The workforce is hardworking. The legal system is straightforward. The tax burden is very low. It's very attractive to multinational companies. Why would you put up with homeless people shitting in the streets in front of your head office and home, and the privilege of paying gigantic amounts of taxes? The uncertainty that was introduced by Tish James, where a rogue attorney general, and maybe at the city level you have a similar person under Zohran, could decide, you know what? Fuck the statute of limitations. I'm going to go back 25 years, 50 years, and find an injustice and train my legal beagles on somebody in the private sector, knowing that I can outspend that person, or at least cost them millions, tens of millions of dollars till they give in. This person is in my view, should have been disqualified from running in the first place. And I hope Tom Homan is looking carefully at him. And somebody is looking, I hope, carefully at whatever forms he filed to get his citizenship, because I have a sneaking suspicion he lied his ass off.
Well, that's just it, so there was this Muslim Brotherhood fueled coup in Egypt in August of 2013. And what this Twitter user 0 Hour is finding is just all kinds of tweets, August 14th, 2013.
Whoa. No. It was the coup you're talking about. If you're talking about Mohammed Morsi, that occurred June 29th, 2012. And why that is very important is that on that date, Uma Abedin became a special government employee.
We're losing you, Charles. Can you hear me?
And for the foundation to NATO, the State Department, and Hillary personally. Okay, and hello?
Yeah, you broke up.
You want me to check back in?
No. I think it's just getting through a burp. You seem to be coming back into focus right now. You were saying that the Egyptian coup was in August of 2012?
It was, no. What happened was there was an election, and Mohammed Morsi was sworn in, gave a victory speech on June 29th, 2012. in Arabic. He said that his number one priority was the freeing of the blind sheikh, the person who allegedly was the leader of the first attempt to down the World Trade Center in 1993. He says, in his victory speech, my top priority is to free the blind sheikh. And at that same moment, Uma Abedin, Alex Soros's new bride, became employed by the State Department, the Clinton Foundation, Hillary Clinton personally, and Teneo. All 4 jobs at once. It's tough enough to have 1 job, but this girl managed to have 4. Now, a top priority for the Clinton Foundation was to go ahead and to have Morsi speak at the Clinton Global Initiative in September of 2012. So there's a whole bunch of information back and forth that we still don't have concerning what Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, who was then Secretary of State, were trying to do to pacify Morsi. And so it wasn't a coup, it was an election. And,
but wait a minute,
and Morsi...
Because this, according to Wikipedia, says there was a coup in 2013. It says the 2013 Egyptian coup d'etat, or the counter-revolution, is an event that took place on July 3rd, 2013. Egyptian Army Chief General Abdel Fattah el-Sisi led a coalition. So this is the thing that our buddy Mamdani was there for.
Well, fighting it.
Yeah,
right? He would.
I mean, that's the thing. What Zero Hour presents is a bunch of documents from the State Department, like warning everybody to leave. And this is exactly when Zohran is going there. So he's saying, well, what the hell is going on? Who is going to this coup if you're not part of the Muslim Brotherhood? And then he goes back to a lot of old tweets from Zohran where he's talking about his trip. He just flew from Entebbe, Uganda to Cairo. This is July 21st, right in the middle of the coup. He's going there. So, I mean, is he just some random tourist going on vacation to Egypt in the middle of the coup? Or is he participating, just like he is right now, in a coup in the middle of New York City? He seems to be some sort of operative. And I mean, everything that you're saying about the Clintons and all this stuff with, Mohammed Morsi, isn't he the guy who died in the middle of a glass box in court? Right.
But yeah. So my point to you is that now that you bring this up, it is likely that Zohran is a tool as well of the Clintons.
Exactly.
And remember that Mohammed Morsi's spokesperson what worked for the Clinton Foundation.
Right. So this is all CIA crap is what I'm getting at, because I don't believe anything about the blind sheikh trying to blow up the World Trade Center. I think it was Bill Clinton and the CIA trying to blow up the World Trade Center, and then they succeed in 2011. Everything they tell us about Muslim pilots and the blind sheikh, those guys are all actors stuck in. And what happened here is he's in court in some glass box, and he says, oh, I'm going to tell you everything about Hillary Clinton. And then he dies of a heart attack inside the glass box. And then his son, who's like 25, dies of a heart attack not long after this. This is all very weird.
Exactly. And remember also the story when they were trying to explain what was going on in Benghazi on September 11th, 2012. The story begins before September 11th, several days before, when that cartoon animation appeared on Egyptian state TV.
It wasn't a cartoon animation. It was a stupid movie called The Innocence of Muslims.
But I thought it was in cartoon form.
No, it's just a very bad movie. I've seen some images from it. Now, not to cut off what you're saying, Charles, but this is interesting that I haven't seen before. Lawyers say the son was killed by a lethal substance. See, what I had seen was that the son had died of a heart attack, but the son was less than 30 years old, so lethal substance sounds a lot more likely to me. The movie that you're talking about is called The Innocence of Muslims, and I had looked into this for a little while. It's very difficult. We're gonna have to get into more of this in the First Amendment Forum, because we're almost out of time here. But this is a good topic for us to discuss there. This director, Sam Basile, he's like an unknown guy who he's got multiple different names. At one point, I even went as far as trying to contact some location people who I think were involved in this, and you couldn't find anything about how this thing was made.
Right, but whatever it was, the film appeared several days before September 11th, 2012.
Here it is,
and
images from it.
Yeah, and so what they said, what Susan Rice and Hillary Clinton tried to argue was that the riots, which were not just in Libya, but were in many Muslim countries, including Egypt and Pakistan, as Obama likes to call it. But these started running before September 11th. Then the dread events of Benghazi happened on the anniversary of September 11th. So I think whatever concerns I had about Zohran, I now multiply by 1 million. This guy is bad news.
Totally.
Super
so,
bad
Charles,
news.
let's do this. Let's break here, and people are going to be able to join us in the First Amendment Forum. It's important to let people know, Odyssey just yesterday has implemented their new payment system, and it involves a cryptocurrency called AR. So I think for the next 7 or 10 days, people who were subscribed on Odyssey will still be able to get the sponsor exclusive content. After that, people are going to have to, if they want to stay on Odyssey, get a cryptocurrency wallet and do it that way. That's going to be up to people to decide if they want to do that. People can also join by sponsoring on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Also, people who follow me on X and subscribe at JG_CSTT. You'll be able to get that. We'll take a look at some of this video, The Innocence of Muslims. This is a good topic for us to get into, Charles, because this is a deeply social engineered. I agree with you. Mamdani, they're going in for the kill shot. He cannot be allowed to win as mayor. We'll be back in just a minute. Stay with us, everybody.